Ever feel like you're falling behind on the latest tech, AI, and all the smart devices in your life? That used to be me. Until I started tuning into The Kim Commando Show. It's on over 400 top radio stations and packed with the latest in the tech, AI, security tips, and tricks. Here's a secret I learned. If an Amazon package has the letters LPN, the item was returned. It's not new. Join millions who rely on Kim Commando. That's The Kim Commando Show, Komando.
The Agile brand.
Welcome to the Delighted Customers Podcast, now part of the Agile Brand Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mark Slayton, and I am so glad you're here. I empower leaders to delight their customers, and I talk to guests with a wide range of expertise who share meaningful insights, wisdom, and practical tips that you can use immediately. I'm also excited to announce the Trusted Guide Roadmap Masterclass for CX leaders who struggle with executive buy-in and are ready to go beyond CX fundamentals. The Masterclass gives you proven frameworks and takes you step by step through a 4-step model that will move you past the frustration of not getting your work done. It's unique because it's live, interpersonal, hands-on, and we give you tools and templates to help you build your CX roadmap. To learn more, visit empoweredcx.com. That's EMPOWEREDCX.com. And now on to the show. Well, everybody seems to be talking about artificial intelligence and how it can be used to increase revenue, to reduce costs, to improve profitability. How are companies going to utilize it? And one area in particular is the digital experience. And that's the topic of our discussion today. I'm excited that I've got Andrew Carothers, who's a certified customer experience professional and a senior customer experience leader, helping companies build and scale organizations that increase customer adoption, retention, improve renewal, and drive growth. And he does that for Cisco Systems, who he's been a founding member of their CX function way back. And he has built extensive strategic and tactical CX knowledge in the world of digital and helps his customers. He's done all sorts of speaking and writing. He's co-authored the Publicity Handbook from McGraw-Hill, and he's won numerous awards in the world of CX. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. It's great to be here. I love the show, so I'm excited to have an opportunity to actually talk with you.
Well, excited to have you on the show and hear more about it's become both an opportunity and a little bit of a pain point, I think, for companies who are trying to not fall behind, like this FOMO, this fear of missing out on AI, and how they can use it to do the things I talked about, which are typical financial goals for companies. But there's a bridge and you're going to help us get there, right?
That's the goal.
Well, before we do that, would you mind sharing with the listeners a little bit about what got you into CX and what you're doing now?
I'd be happy to. So I started my career years ago in public relations, which is when I wrote the Publicity Handbook that you mentioned. And I broadened that from sort of straight up PR to corporate communications to marketing writ large. And that's when I started working at Cisco as in a marketing function. And then when Cisco made the shift from purely a hardware company to looking to build it into a recurring revenue-based business, we realized that we needed to bring in and build a customer success function or a customer experience function. And so I was as you mentioned, I was one of the founders of that. And so for the past 13 years, have really had a front row seat to the growth of not only the discipline of CX into a recognized, distinct function, but also to the growth of that function in one of the top global tech companies. We've gone from 100 people initially to 3,000 people now. Wow. And through the years, it's given me the opportunity to play many different roles in the CX function, in particular in our digital customer experience function. And right now I'm leading the development within the digital customer experience team on the implementation of our sort of the development of our strategy around leveraging AI to improve the customer experience, and then the implementation of that. And then, coincident with that, I'm also on the board of advisors for the University of San Francisco's School of Management Strategic AI program, where I'm helping to develop that program, but also take some of the learnings from that and bring that back into Cisco.
Got it. Okay. So AI is such a big deal. And we're talking specifically today about the digital experience. So tell us, what is the big deal? Why is it such a big deal?
Well, the digital, I'll start with digital experience and then we'll go into AI specifically.
Yeah.
Digital experience is a big deal because in 2024, every customer wants a digital first experience, from the smallest customer to the largest. And so that means that, I mean, when you think about it, when was the last time any of us called up an airline or a travel agent? We just go online to the travel, to Kayak or United.com or whatever the airline is. How many of us, there's some people who don't even go to the store anymore. They just want a digital experience when it comes to their shopping. So every customer wants a digital first experience, not necessarily digital only, but digital first. And that means that we have to have, as organizations serving customers, we have to have an excellent digital experience, one that is personalized, it's simple, it's fast to get customers to the value they're looking for, whether that be troubleshooting or simply looking to find information or trying to adopt. And then there also has to be an easy handoff to humans when the customer desires that. And then the human has the information that that person needs in order to help the customer. So it's complicated, it's complex, but it's what every customer wants. So if an organization is not offering a positive, strong digital experience that gets customers where they're looking to get as quickly and as simply as possible, they're not providing an overall customer experience that is going to drive customer loyalty.
Okay. All right. So you touched on a point, which is that customers want a digital experience first in nearly every industry, but then also want a human involved at a certain point. So how would a company go about, or how would a CX leader go about helping a company determine when is the right time where you're actually hit the point of diminishing returns on the digital and you need a human?
Right, right. Well, that's sort of the tricky part, because every customer has a different point in time when they want that conversion from digital to human. For some, it's right up at the front, but for many, it's somewhere along the process when they're getting stuck digitally. Most people want, as I mentioned, the customers want a digital first experience where they're so that means meeting those customers where they are in the channel where they are and providing the opportunity to easily connect to a human in that channel. So whether that be on a company's website or an organization's website or peer-to-peer communities or social, whether that be LinkedIn or Reddit or whatever, email, whatever the channel is, having the opportunity for customers to engage digitally and then also make it very clear to find and simple to access a button or whatever the actual touch point is going to be to then connect to a human. And ideally, providing multiple options, because some people want to connect with a human via chat, others want a phone, others want to just fill out a form and have somebody call them back or contact them later through another method. Other people want to just be able to reply to an email. So you have to make all of those options available simply, right? So UI becomes important at this point. So essentially, while it's complex, the easy answer is you need to provide every option for customers to connect with humans. You need to provide it in every channel where you're engaging with customers, and you should be engaging with customers in every channel where the customer wants to engage with you. And then you need to make it easy to actually find and access that connection point, that handoff point.
All right. So let's double click on that one gem there, which is, it's really important. They talk about the omni-channel experience, the idea that customers, may want sometimes to do self-serve, sometimes to do a call in to a call center, sometimes if you have an in-person option, in person, et cetera, email, chat, whatever. And so omnichannel really says they want to get it seamlessly across the channel. So even if they start the transaction in one channel, they could finish it in another channel and the company would know. They wouldn't have to start all over again. If they want to do almost anything, I think customers are realizing there's something very secure like a wire transfer or something. They realize that between midnight and 6 a.m. might not be realistic in some cases. Ready hit that gem. So omni-channel is important. Understanding how and when it's unique to each customer, but to understand how and when they might need to migrate in to another channel, a more costly channel for the company, like humans. And so just want to be a little bit more clear than I was earlier about the benefits if you're in the C-suite by expanding on the digital component. Kind of obvious if you don't have to call into a call center and serve a customer your contact center person. Those people cost more money to employ, to train, et cetera, than if you have a self-service function. And even more so if they're in person and you've got that's an even more costly channel, right? So there's some costs they could take out.
Yeah, there's definitely that level of cost that can be taken out of the business. I
Yeah.
would say, in addition to that, there's the growth opportunity. So if a customer is a it makes sense, and we have plenty of data to back this up, and we within Cisco have specific data to back this up as well. The farther customers adopt, the more likely they are to A, renew, and B, upsell or cross sell. And I'm talking about customers upselling and cross selling themselves through a digital first experience. Certainly, they have the opportunity to connect with a human if they want to have those conversations. But they can also do that in a digital opportunity. So upselling to a different level of service, cross-selling to a different product or a complementary product. We see this every day in the way people engage with Amazon. So it's the same thing no matter what the business is. And even up front, as I mentioned, sort of the first area is driving customer adoption through the channel that the customer wants to engage in to drive that adoption is really step one in getting customers to renew and to upsell and cross sell. So along with the cost savings of providing a digital experience, there's the opportunity to drive renewals and to drive growth.
Yeah, so there's the revenue side as well.
Yes, the revenue side as well.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's hard to believe we're already into summer when life goes by so fast. It's important to take a moment to pause and check in. What do you want to celebrate so far from the year? And what are some adjustments you might want to make for the rest of the year? Therapy can help you take stock of your progress and set achievable goals for the next 6 months. You might want to think about your family, your friendships, your personal goals. Where do you feel like you're making progress, and where do you feel like you might be able to use some help? If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charges. This summer, take a moment. Visit betterhelp.com/delighted to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/delighted. So, what in this process of companies who really have an interest, it's a win-win, right? Because they give more customers what they want, which is a digital experience, and they can reduce cost or grow revenues, get more referrals, like you said, more share of wallet, expand. What are some of the common mistakes that companies make in their journey to get there?
Well, there are a couple of things that I've seen companies do sort of wrong. One is value digital as really just a scaling mechanism or just a way to save money. That's focusing in internally as opposed to being customer focused. The customer focused approach is digital is the experience, is the first experience that every customer wants. That change is more than just semantics. It leads to a different strategy and different development, right? Are you looking to optimize the experience for customers, or are you looking to optimize your own cost savings?
Hmm.
So that's one, is sort of how it's viewed. A second one is thinking digital is easy. We'll just take everything we've got, digitize it and drop it online, call it a day. Digital requires connecting data, platforms, processes, people, tools, connecting all of that across an organization where it typically resides in different silos, even in small organizations. Because if you don't connect all that, the data, the people, the processes, the tools, then you're not going to be able to deliver the type of connected, smart, sort of personalized experience that customers are looking for. When a customer has a digital component and then wants to connect to the human, that human is less likely to have the information needed in order to help that customer. Information like what issue is the customer involved in right now? And we've all had the bad experience of being transferred from digital to human or human to human and having to repeat ourselves, what we're trying to solve, let alone any historical information about that customer, what they've bought, where they've struggled, whatever it might be, that can provide context to the conversation. So connecting digital requires a lot of IT and other operational elements. It gets to the point about CX is really an organization-wide function. It touches all different parts of the organization. And digital is a component of that organizational-wide approach. So that's another big mistake that I see.
So what I'm hearing, Andrew, is that we start with the customer experience and design the technology to support the experience that we want to achieve. If that's, one that comes to mind is a new account opening that, if it, and I'm thinking specifically when I worked at the bank. So at a bank, you've got someone who may already have an account and you've got a lot of information about them. So they want to open another account. Typically you'd have to walk into a branch. You'd have to find a branch. Second best would be if you can call the contact center and they can open an account. But a customer might want to be able to self-serve in that. But in order to do that, you've got to pull together, there's a security check, because banks have regulations they've got to deal with when someone is wanting to sign up, and is it a business, is it residential or consumer? There's the pulling in any contact information, personal, public data, and then there's private data. So there's all this information that has to be pulled together. But what we're saying is what comes first is really the experience we want to achieve.
Exactly. In CX, we spend time journey mapping. Mm-hmm. And I would posit that part of that journey map needs to include not only the different steps of the customer's journey, but also what information needs to be provided to the customer along each step, as well as what touch point that's going to include, specifically which digital touch points that information is going to be made available on, right? Which channel. And then what are the elements, the structural elements here? I'm talking about tools, systems, et cetera, whether that be, IT related systems or whether that be processes internally that are touched and need to make sure that are in place and aligned in order to support that journey from a digital perspective, to support the overall customer journey. So that initial journey mapping needs to include the digital element.
So let's talk about another potential mistake that comes to mind is if you don't think all the way through it. And let's just use that example of customer onboarding, a self-serve function, new account opening. If it doesn't work all the way through and the customer gets stuck, even if they were able to do 90% of it, there might be a frustration level that is so high because they're not comparing it to what you used to be able to do yesterday. They're comparing it to what Amazon can do, right? So say more about that.
So that is such a great point. Organizations need to understand that their competitors that they're being measured against are not just their competitors in whatever industry they're in. It's from an experience standpoint, it's any organization that a customer has an experience with. And for many, Amazon's the gold standard, and we're all being compared to Amazon. Well, Amazon can do this. so a couple of things, the implications for that, and the implications for that when it comes to the C-suite. There has to be an investment in the digital function in order to be able to resolve some of these problems. My first suggestion or remedy is to understand what your existing customers are doing, where they're struggling in particular, where they're stumbling when they try to maybe open up a different type of, so go to the banking example. If you have a savings account, you want to open up a checking account, or you want to open up a CD, whatever new product that you want to onboard onto, where are people getting stuck? And can that apply to wholly new, sort of net new customers, to try to then solve for those problems before the net new customer even has them? So that's number one. How do we avoid these problems from even coming up? And that involves having conversations with existing customers. So I'm talking about sort of traditional focus groups, et cetera, to get the voice of the customer, to understand from them, especially newer customers, what problems did you encounter when you were just starting off? What could we do better? I'll take it to a different sort of, consumer may not be the right example, but another example. I'm actually working with my mother right now at her church in Los Angeles, where they're trying to grow their flock. And so I've been talking to her about a lot of these principles and how do they go and reach out to potential members of their flock. How do they identify them? How do they, whether it be geographic or age or children, like whatever their personas are that they're looking at, how do they identify those people? What sort of questions to have with them? And also looking at new members of their church, in particular for their concerns, new members with young children, and then have conversations with them to understand how they were attracted, what motivated them, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's important to listen to our existing customers, both digitally and sort of humanly, to try to understand how best to head off problems before they exist, solve them when they occur. If we see digitally then a new customer trying to do something and getting stuck, making sure that they have an easy, quick way to connect with the human, as we've already discussed, and then also monitoring those digital pathways, because to see where are they getting stuck from a digital perspective, right? Using the digital tools to analyze that, as opposed to waiting for them to reach out to somebody. Because some people may just get frustrated and not reach out to anybody for help. They just walk away, go somewhere else. So it's tracking that and then being able to reach out to them, ideally in real time. If you can track them in real time when they're struggling with something on your website, or if they're posting comments on a Reddit group or in your peer-to-peer community, and be able to respond to that quickly, then you still have them when they're experiencing that problem, and you can solve it for them in the moment.
Helpful. So what I'm hearing for you is find the friction, right? Find where the pain is and go after that.
Exactly. Find the friction. Every time I've said customers want a simple experience, you could replace simple with frictionless.
Yeah. So we've talked about digital experience, and I also want to talk about AI, leveraging AI to improve the digital experience. So help lay the difference out for us when we're from a definitional standpoint between AI and digital experience.
Yep. I view AI as a tool. I'll just broadly call it a tool to improve the digital experience. So the digital experience is any engagement that a customer is having with a company or an organization digitally. And as we've talked about, that also includes tying together on the back end of the company various processes so that information is going into a company's CRM system or whatever it might be, right? So that's all of the components on the front end, the back end, to have to have a series of connected digital touch points. AI is a way to improve the digital experience by using various different technologies under the umbrella of artificial intelligence. So whether that be more sort of traditional predictive or data science or machine learning element of analyzing data and trying to drive understanding from that and to try to predict behavior, as well as the more recent sort of democratization of AI through generative AI, which is more around generating content or other elements that can be used as part of the digital experience. So I think of, to get specific, three sort of key pillars to leveraging AI in order to improve the overall digital experience. And one is understanding customers. Second one is use this understanding to personalize each customer's experience. And then three is looking for ways to improve operational efficiency. And when I think about understanding customers, it's using more of the traditional data science approach to understand things like, whom do we contact? What through what method, right? Which channel? When's the best time to contact that person? Predicting the likelihood of various behaviors, such as adopting or renewing, or whatever the company wants, is looking to understand what the customer's doing. So it's understanding and then predicting, and then being able to take that knowledge and being able to personalize a customer's experience. And that's through things like using Gen AI for content, whether that be creating net new content or leveraging existing content and creating different versions of it, maybe by language, maybe by form factor. For example, taking a 1 hour video and cutting it down into a series of 3-minute videos, or maybe turning it into an FAQ or an infographic. Maybe taking documentation and parsing it into different versions based on the level of technical skills. Some people want more of a business level overview, and others want an in the weeds technical guide. So there are different ways to take existing content or create new content using Gen AI to be able to do something that most organizations don't have the bandwidth to create multiple versions of this content. But doing so allows you to provide that content for customers in the format that works best for them. Additionally, you're able to provide it at different channels. You're not going to post a 1 hour video on TikTok, but you might be able to post a 3-minute video on TikTok, right? Or LinkedIn, or figure out your platform. The other way we can personalize the experience is with AI assistants or bots, right? So we're developing an onboarding assistant, a renewal assistant. I think of this as for those who may remember, maybe a decade or so ago, Microsoft had their little paperclip that came with all of their Microsoft Office functions, and it was there to help you do things. This is a much better version of that. That you can just ask simple questions in simple language and get an answer right on the spot. You don't even have to go to a chat, right? That is your chat bot. You don't have to go searching for information on a company's website. It's just right there for you, your own little assistant. So that helps personalize the experience, because that bot or that assistant is trained on information relevant to what you're looking for, as well as informed by who you are, right? So what you've purchased, right? So you don't have to start off by saying, I own this. It's your bot. The bot knows what you own. So it's taking friction points out. So those are two ways that are customer facing to leverage AI to improve the digital experience. And then the third way that I mentioned is operational efficiency. So this is things like using AI to do journey mapping, or using AI to make sure that humans have the information at their fingertip. It's their assistant, whether that be a customer success manager assistant or whatever it might be, so that it's easy for them. We're using AI for operational efficiency within our team for things like A/B testing of subject lines or posts for our community members in the Cisco community. So, instead of optimizing our journeys by doing various A/B and A/B type of testing, maybe once every quarter or 6 months, and doing one level of testing, we're now able to optimize anytime we want. And within a given hour, we can run 30, 40 different tests to see what's going to work best for our customers, whether that be specific language or whether that be the actual journey itself. So operational efficiency is a third area.
For any business to thrive, effective communication is key. not just for success, but for maintaining a healthy, respectful work environment. And that's where Service Skills comes in, a proven e-learning platform that's transforming organizations through micro-learning modules. Think about it. Are your customer service interactions up to par? How inclusive and collaborative is your workplace? Service Skills offers hundreds of courses on everything from customer satisfaction and team building to management and respectful workplace practices. Validated by millions, these courses empower your staff to excel and communicate effectively, enhancing both personal and company-wide success. And the best part? It's all available at your fingertips with affordable pricing and flexible options that fit your organization's needs. Elevate your team's skills, boost workplace respect, and foster a culture of diversity and inclusion. Join the ranks of satisfied clients who've seen tangible results in performance and communication. Are there any other strategies that you might recommend to help companies implement effectively digital experience and or inclusive of AI?
That's a great question. Number one strategy is get your data in order. And by the way, as I said, I started in public relations. I'm not a data guy, but what I've learned through the years is data is the fuel, but not all fuel is clean. So you've got to identify the relevant data sources in your organization. You've got to get access to it and aggregate it in something like a data lake. You've got to clean it up. And you've got to make sure that it's essentially ready for prime time to do analysis on or to train your own internal models. If we're talking about AI and large language models or small language models that are more specific and focused, but sort of garbage in, garbage out, dirty fuel in, dirty results out. So number one is data's the fuel, and you got to make sure you've got it, you can access it, it's clean and ready to use. And number two goes in a different tact. This is have a responsible AI policy for your organization that is put together by different functions across your organization, including IT, including whoever's responsible for privacy, legal. You want to make branding. You want to make sure that you've got a policy that outlines what is it essentially provides the guidelines, or I should say the guardrails for people within your organization to use AI and to use it responsibly in a way that protects your customers. You want to make sure you're not exposing customer data out to the broader internet, which some companies have had happen to them. But you also want to protect the company. You want to protect the company from legal risk and from other potential risks involved, right? Because if you're communicating bad information to customers and they're acting on that, it could cause problems that cause them harm, opening you up to legal risk. So you need to form that policy, a responsible AI policy. You need to communicate it internally and train people on it to make sure that they're following it. And you need to communicate it externally, because it goes to something you mentioned earlier, which is the importance of trust. I think customers expect in 2024 that AI is in broad use. And I think most customers are okay with some of that, but it's important for them to trust the organization. If they're going to give a company their data, they want to be able to trust that the company is not going to misuse it from the standpoint of either sort of in a benign way, spamming them constantly, but in a more egregious way of exposing that data, right, through some sort of a leak. So it's important to have that AI policy and to communicate it externally to help build trust. And then the third way of three is simple. It's get started, right? The best time to start was 5 years ago or 1 year ago when it came to Gen AI. The second best time to start is today, because even if your organization isn't ready to implement AI, if you start to test it, play with it, right? Get a Microsoft Copilot account or a ChatGPT, or pick a model or pick two, and just start playing with it for non-work things. Just create images, write articles, whatever you want to do, and that way you'll start to get the hang of it. You'll understand. That will then unlock ideas for using AI. And then when your organization is poised to implement AI, you'll be ready to lead the charge internally.
Great tip. So I've got get your data in order, have a responsible AI strategy, a policy, and get started.
Yep.
Get started. Any particular idea on what to get started with first?
Well, here's what I would say. Whatever you're interested in. So assuming that we're talking about non-work related uses, whatever you're interested in, if you love to travel, build out a travel plan for a trip you'd like to take tomorrow or someday. If you like art, figure out, go to Midjourney or Dolly, or, pick a tool or several tools and start creating AI generated art. Think about a picture you might want to have the wall of your office, and then start playing with it. And it's by the playing with it that you'll get better at what's referred to as prompt engineering, which is simply how to ask the tool the right questions so that you get the output that you're looking for. It's really no different than back in the early days of the internet, figuring out how to ask queries of Yahoo or Google or whatever, of search engines. So it's the same type of concept there. You'll start to look for ways that you can use it in your personal life. Menu planning is a great one. And then when it comes to, work options, it's whatever you're looking to do from whatever repetitive tasks you have, figure out how to use AI for that. Again, within the guidelines of your company. But do you have to do call summaries? If you're a CSM or whatever you do and you've got to do call summaries, use AI to record those calls and create the summary, and then you can review it to make sure that it's accurate before putting that call summary into action, whether that's something you send to customers or you put into CRM, whatever it might be. So you can look at it for some sort of easy entry into AI options for use cases within the business environment as well.
Excellent. Boy, so many great tips, so many great gems, Andrew. We're gonna have to land the plane. But before we do, let me ask the question that I ask all my guests at the end. What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Well, I've given this some thought lately, and there are two big things I wish I'd known then. One is breathe. Everything is going to be okay. So if you look at everything, even setbacks, as an opportunity to grow, to learn, then everything that happens is okay. And in the end, things will work out. So number one is breathe, know that everything's going to be okay. And then number two thing is related to that, and that is feedback is a gift, but it's only a gift if you listen to it, if you think about it, and if you take whatever appropriate action might be on that, whether it just be to absorb it or to take certain steps, whatever. If you look at feedback that you're getting from somebody as a gift, as opposed to a negative criticism, then you're more likely to be open to receiving it and then to thinking about it and acting on it as well. So breathe, everything's going to be okay. And feedback is a gift if you use it.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice. Andrew Carothers, CCXP, Cisco Systems, thank you so much. If people want to get a hold of you, what will be the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, Mark, that'd be great. I'd love to engage with folks. Best way to reach me is LinkedIn. Just reach out to me there, connect with me, send me a message. I've actually used that as an opportunity to get together with multiple people that I had not known before. So I very much look forward to that. And if we're ever in the same town together, we can get together in person as well and share a cup of coffee. That goes for you as well as other people, by the way.
I'll take you up on that. Andrew, thanks so much for being on the show.
Mark, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Delighted Customers Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode or any of my other ones, hit subscribe or follow. I've got a lot of other great guests that are coming up and a lot of other great content, and I don't want you to miss anything. You can find any links or references on the show in the show notes, and you can find those at my website at empoweredcx.com. That's EMPOWEREDCX.com. Also, make sure to check out the other shows in the Agile Brand Podcast Network by going to www.agilebrandguide.com. The Delighted Customers Podcast with Mark Slayton is produced by Missing Link, a Latina-owned, strategy-driven, creatively fueled production co-op. From ideation to creation, they craft human connections through intelligent, engaging, and informative content.
The Agile brand.